In the shadow of escalating violence, the Tulkarm refugee camp stands as a poignant symbol of conflict. Recent Israeli airstrikes, unprecedented since the Second Intifada, have left devastation in their wake, claiming countless Palestinian lives and wounding many more. As Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense leaders reaffirm their commitment to waging war on multiple fronts, tensions simmer in southern Lebanon, where the ramifications of this violence ripple across borders. This episode of In Depth delves into heartbreaking realities of Tulkarm, exploring the deeper questions surrounding Israel's simultaneous aggression in both the West Bank and Lebanon. Why now, and to what end? Welcome to In Depth. In the Tulkarm refugee camp, the air was thick with despair as Israeli fighter jets unleashed a devastating assault, marking the deadliest strike in the West Bank since 2000. With at least 18 Palestinians killed, the echoes of destruction reverberated through the camp. Amidst this chaos, Israeli leaders vowed to intensify military operations across all fronts, raising urgent questions about the escalating violence in both the West Bank and Lebanon. As communities mourn and grapple with the aftermath, a fragile hope for peace hangs by a thread.
In a harrowing scene, Tulkarm refugee camp echoed with the sounds of destruction as Israeli airstrikes shattered the relative calm of the camp in the occupied West Bank, marking the deadliest assault there since the Second Intifada. Israeli fighter jets targeted residential areas, resulting in at least 18 Palestinian deaths and numerous injuries. This unprecedented military action has drawn condemnation from Palestinian officials, who labeled it a massacre and held the Israeli government accountable for its consequences. This brutal escalation came on the heels of a letter from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to ministers, government staff, and senior officers that asserted that military operations would intensify across all fronts. The airstrikes extended beyond Tulkarm, as Lebanese cities trembled under relentless and brutal bombardment. Lebanon, Gaza, and the West Bank are collectively suffering from the surge of violence and escalations. With tensions soaring across borders, several countries condemned the attacks, calling for urgent international intervention, yet the cycle of violence loomed larger, casting long shadows over a fragile hope, leaving communities to grapple with the devastating consequences of war. In the ruins of Tulkarm, the air thickens with the weight of uncertainty as Palestinians fight to breathe amidst the chaos of coordinated assaults. All these raise pressing questions about Israel's strategy. Why escalate hostilities in both the West Bank and Lebanon? And what is the potential for further regional instability in an already volatile landscape?
As reported by The Guardian, the recent Israeli airstrike in the West Bank targeting a Hamas figure has resulted in the deadliest attack in the territory in 24 years, with at least 18 casualties, including a family of 4. This tragedy in Tulkarm underscores the intensifying violence not only in Gaza, but across the West Bank, as we witness an alarming escalation in the conflict. Palestinian authorities have condemned this strike as a heinous crime, and this escalation undoubtedly leaves an even deeper scar on the Palestinian communities. Now, for more analysis on this and for our discussion, we are joined from Ramallah by Dr. Sabri Saidam, Deputy Secretary General of the Fatah Central Committee. Welcome to the programme. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Saidam. Now, let's start with this question. What are Israel's primary motives, would you say, for launching airstrikes in Tulkarm, and how do they fit into the broader context of its military strategy?
Well, good afternoon. As you know, Israel has been fighting on different fronts with the hope that it redraws the map of the Middle East. This is what Netanyahu has been saying day in, day out. He had actually echoed the message again at the General Assembly of the UN quite recently. He is a believer that military might would bring him a change over the Middle East, a Middle East that has no Palestinian presence whatsoever. So his battle in Gaza did not go as planned. He was not able to return so-called detainees. He was not able to deport Palestinians thanks to Egyptian resilience. And he turned to Lebanon. And as the war escalates in Lebanon, his ground assault is not progressing as desired. And Lebanon is not giving in. So he turns back to the West Bank to escalate the situation, now targeting Tulkarm as a fragile entity of the Palestinian Authority, killing 18 people. The number had risen, by the way, since we are on air. It's about 20 people now that have lost their lives. So Netanyahu is fixated on the idea of redrawing the map according to his ideological plans and ideological aspirations. We will have to fight back, definitely.
And thank you for correcting that, Doctor. It's very important. Thank you for that. What are the potential consequences of this recent escalation for the West Bank?
Well, as you know, as I said, Netanyahu is adamant that he would want to see a Middle East with no single Palestinian in it. Yet this escalation of violence is going to lead us nowhere. Military might is not going to quash Palestinian presence. 76 years have stood evidence of the right of existence of the Palestinian people. The steadfastness of the people of Palestine was remarkable. So I no way would ever believe that Netanyahu would be successful one day, but he seems to be feeling that he has a free hand with the support of the American administration. And if anything, this is entrenching more and more hatred and creating more and more incitement. I think with such hostilities, Netanyahu also is enjoying the support of the G8 so far, the G7. He has received endorsement from them vis-a-vis his war on Hezbollah. We, as Palestinians, we would have to push back. We would have to confront a situation that is almost a finger-biting kind of exercise. Whoever shouts first is the loser. So Netanyahu does not want in any way to give in to the pressure of the popular international community that's calling upon him to end this saga and finish this war quickly.
And Netanyahu, who seems to be at the moment enjoying quite a lot of popularity in Israel from the Israeli people. He's now fighting on several different fronts. The incursion into Lebanon was seemingly very popular, according to polling. Is there a step too far that might change public opinion within Israel?
Well, as you know, this scene, as it were, Netanyahu has been laying the seeds for quite a while. This is a culmination of almost 30 years of his political career, in which he had moved the Palestinian and the Israeli society towards the right. It's deeply entrenched in its ideological belief that Palestinians should not be in existence here. So Netanyahu now is also armed with his colleagues Smotrich and Ben Gvir, and feels definite that he would have to redraw the map of the Middle East, as I mentioned earlier. So I don't think this in any way is going to change. There has to be a paradigm shift. There has to be a state of mind shift, rather, in Israel. That is going to take some time, but his lack of progression, lack of achievements in Lebanon is going to make certainly the society reconsider its position. That's the Israeli society. And maybe the international community would come to the rescue of the Palestinians as they see the number of fatalities increase and as they see Gaza being at that end and the West Bank is turning into yet another Gaza. It's certainly going to send, sirens of alarm in the mind and hearts of the international community. And maybe this is going to change things.
And let's talk about timing. You mentioned before that perhaps the reason why he's decided to intensify military operations in Tulkarm might be because of what's going on in Lebanon. Also, there's been a lot of talk about Israel hitting Iran, and they haven't done so yet. Talk about the timing a little bit for us, and where Tulkarm and this aggression comes in the scheme of things.
Well, I mentioned that Gaza was not progressing well. He had set two plans, one of which was not in any way successful. It had downgraded his popularity big time. He turns to Lebanon, where he believes that the Israeli society has its heart on the removal of Hezbollah. So there he was winning popularity, but he wanted to intentionally show the regional partners that Israel is competent, is capable of fighting on different fronts. So he turns back to Tulkarm, re-emphasizing his message that he is capable, that his army is ready and can hit at different targets at the same time. So this is a demonstration, or rather flexing the muscle in front of everyone, and a show of force. So I would say Netanyahu also is in a big debate with the American administration and his partners as to when and where he would hit Iran. Certainly, the American administration is concerned about the rising prices of oil, so they don't want him to hit any oil installations. And obviously, hitting any nuclear installations in Iran is going to drag the region into further conflict. So the debate continues. Netanyahu redraws attention from the front of the Lebanon, where he has not been making any ground progress that is visible, that is desirable, to Tulkarm, so that he takes the limelight rather from Lebanon down to Tulkarm. But so far, this is, as I said, is just invigorating more and more interest in the Palestinian society to push back, now that the intention of Netanyahu is quite clear to drive Palestinians out of this region.
And if we can look at the wider implications, Doctor, what do you think those are of this multi-front conflict for the long-term peace prospects for the region?
Well, the term peace has long been absent from Israeli literature. Over 5 rounds of recent elections, there was no mention of the term peace. There's no left in Israel. In fact, the left has left. What remains is a bunch of lunatics who believe that with the presence of military might they have, their technological advantage vis-a-vis the whole region can give them the power to drive out Palestinians, to redraw the map, to reconnect, or rather connect India with the Mediterranean under Israeli rule, with this land having no single Palestinian in it. So far, this plan is not working for Netanyahu and is going to definitely draw, a lot of resentment on the part of the international community and regional partners, that enough is enough. By 7th of October, we would hit a year since this whole saga had been started, and with no progress made whatsoever. So let's hope now, with the support of our regional partners, inclusive of Egypt, and the support of the popular vote around Europe and beyond, and the marches within universities, pressure would be rebuilt on Netanyahu, so that to drive him away from all these plans that have gotten us nowhere.
And you mentioned Israel's international standing and its relationships. With which countries do you think those relationships have been affected the most? Who are the biggest allies of Palestine when it comes to the international standing of Israel and what is happening right now with the latest strikes?
Well, my friend, if you look at the map of vote that took place at the General Assembly, you would realize that 95% of the world population has voted in favor of Palestine and the Palestinians. That means Netanyahu enjoys the support of a number of countries, maybe 5 or 6 countries, inclusive of America, that's not only providing arms and political cover, it's also providing the veto that has been so far sabotaging any attempt to end this war. The UK is certainly standing, sometimes appears to be sitting on the fence, but it is deep-rooted in supporting, as they call, the defense of Israel. And I would like to say through your good selves that the true friend of Israel is a friend that tells Israel that what is doing is wrong. The popularity, the existence, the security, the justice Israel is seeking is not going to be happening unless justice is served to the Palestinians. The Palestinians at large enjoy the popular vote worldwide. They enjoy the support of the regional partners headed by Egypt and Saudi Arabia and others. And they enjoy also the support of many people who are seeking and soliciting the end to this war, inclusive of progressive Jews that have been revisiting the doctrine of the Zionist movement that is getting us nowhere and is not going to get the humanity at large anywhere.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Fascinating insights. Dr. Sabri Saidam in Ramallah, thank you very much for being on the program. Now we are joined by Nabal Fasakh, spokesperson for the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, joining us now on the line. What do you believe are Israel's primary motives for opening this front now? Do we have you there? Nabal Fasakh? Do we have you there? We're just trying to make contact now with our representative from the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us. Now we're going to go to some live pictures of Lebanon, live in Beirut. This is what's happening right now, as you can see, and this will be now for the fourth or fifth day in a row. You can see smoke rising from Beirut. These are live pictures on your screens now. You're here with us this afternoon on Qnews. This is Mark with you, and you're seeing live pictures from Beirut right now on your screens. Live pictures from Beirut. Now, hopefully, we are joined by Nabal Fasakh on the phone or on the line for us, a spokesperson for the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. Are you with us?
Yes, hi. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. Now, what do you believe are Israel's primary motives for opening up this front now? Hello? Can you hear me? Did you get our question?
I'm having difficulty hearing you a little bit, but I would like to talk about yesterday's attack at the Tulkarm refugee camp, where the Palestinian Crescent have dealt with 9 fatalities, including 1 woman. Our staff transported those fatalities to one of the hospitals, and the situation was extremely horrific. It's the first time happened since the second Intifada where an Israeli war plane hit one of the locations in the West Bank. Since the beginning of the war in Gaza, we have witnessed an escalation in Israeli attacks at Palestinian cities and refugee camps, which has resulted in the killing of more than 723 Palestinians, including 160 children. More than 6,200 others were injured, and our teams are also facing difficulties performing their humanitarian duty, transporting the wounded to the hospitals, where our staff are being prevented from reaching those wounded by the Israeli military.
Right. Okay. So you were just saying, unfortunately, we have lost Nabal Fasak, unfortunately. But as you could hear there, she was telling us that the staff of the Red Crescent had been prevented from getting to those in need. That was what we were hearing there from our guest. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the program today. Thank you very much for being with us on In Depth, and thanks for watching.